Love can be the most dangerous scam of all. Imagine losing not just your money, but your trust, your dignity, even your hope for happiness. That's what happened to Michael Turner, a 52-year-old widower from Texas who thought he had found love online, but the woman who healed his loneliness wasn't real. By the time the truth came out, Michael had lost more than $1 million, and something far more priceless, his faith in people. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to Bite Crimes. Your support helps us keep bringing you chilling, true, and educational stories about cybercrime. Now sit back. Let's begin the story in full. Michael Turner's story began like so many others in the modern digital age, with grief and an aching need for connection. A former oil field technician from Lubbock, Texas, Michael had spent most of his life working long hours to build a modest but stable life for his family. When his wife passed away from cancer in 2019, the quiet of the house felt unbearable. His two grown children lived in other states, busy with their own lives. By the time he turned 52, Michael often spent his evenings staring at the television without hearing a single word. Loneliness is a powerful thing, and it's the kind of vulnerability romance scammers prey upon. In early 2023, after months of urging from a friend, Michael created a profile on a dating site. He described himself as an honest, hard-working man looking for someone to share laughter and simple joys. He wasn't expecting much, but within a week, a message popped up from a woman named Rebecca Whitfield. Rebecca's profile showed a smiling brunette in her mid-40s, sitting in a cafe with a steaming mug of coffee. Her first message was warm and direct. "You look like someone who deserves a second chance at happiness. Mind if we talk?" For Michael, those words were like sunlight breaking through clouds. Their conversations moved from the dating app to text messages and late-night phone calls. Rebecca claimed to be a travel nurse working with an NGO in Eastern Europe, caring for children in conflict-affected areas. Her compassion, her gentle humor, and most of all, her empathy for Michael's loss made her seem genuine. She told him, "I understand grief. I lost my father a few years ago. I know how lonely the nights can be." Viewers, if you've ever had a moment when a stranger online seemed to know exactly what you needed to hear, you'll understand why Michael lowered his guard. In the comments below, tell us your thoughts so far. Have you ever wondered if someone online was who they claimed to be? Weeks turned into months. Rebecca shared stories about long days at the clinic, sometimes even sending photos, images of her at work, wearing scrubs, smiling with young patients. Michael's heart slowly opened. For the first time in years, he started humming along to old country songs while making coffee. His children noticed a change during their calls. "Dad, you sound happier," his daughter remarked. Then came the first request. Rebecca explained that her work visa was delayed, and she needed $2,000 to handle urgent paperwork. Michael didn't hesitate. It felt like the natural thing to do for someone he cared about. That was the beginning. Over the next 6 months, the requests came more often, always framed as emergencies. An injured child who needed a costly procedure, a surprise customs fee on medical supplies, a stolen phone that had to be replaced to keep in contact. Each request arrived with heartfelt messages and sometimes late-night calls where Rebecca's voice trembled with supposed worry. Michael dipped into his savings, then his retirement account. When the bank flagged unusual transfers, he explained, embarrassed, that he was helping someone he planned to marry. By the time his son visited at Thanksgiving, Michael had wired more than $600,000 to accounts overseas. The son grew suspicious. "Dad, have you ever met her in person? Video chatted even?" Michael admitted they hadn't. Rebecca always had an excuse. Poor internet at the clinic, security restrictions, a broken camera. Viewers, this is one of the red flags experts warn about. Scammers often avoid live video calls because it would expose a fake identity. The first crack in the illusion appeared one chilly December evening. Michael's bank froze a wire transfer, citing fraud concerns. A representative gently suggested he verified the recipient's identity. Shaken, Michael confronted Rebecca. Her reply was a mixture of hurt and indignation. "After everything we've shared, you don't trust me?" To keep the peace, And clinging to the hope of love, Michael persisted. He sold his truck and even mortgaged his home. By March 2024, the total he had sent Rebecca exceeded $1 million. The final breaking point came not with dramatic confession, but a small, quiet detail. One evening, while scrolling through social media, Michael stumbled upon a post shared by his daughter. It was an article about romance scams. The image of a smiling brunette used in the article's example was the same photo Rebecca had once sent him, the same cafe, the same coffee mug. Michael's heart pounded as he searched the photo online. It led to an Instagram account of a woman in California, a nurse who had never heard of him, and certainly wasn't in Eastern Europe. Everything he had believed in, every warm conversation, and every promise of future together collapsed like a house of cards. He went to the police the next morning, trembling as he held out printouts of messages and wire receipts. The detective who took his statement had seen cases like this before. "You're not alone," she told him quietly. But that was little comfort. Michael Turner's tragedy was far from over. The investigation had only just begun, and the hunt for the real people behind Rebecca would take investigators across borders, into shadows of an international crime ring that thrived on stolen hearts and broken trust. When Michael walked into the Lubbock Police Department clutching his stack of printouts, he felt both ashamed and desperate. He wasn't the only victim, as Detective Laura Hayes soon discovered. She'd handled a half-dozen similar cases in the past year. The difference was the amount. Michael's losses made his case impossible to ignore. Working with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, Hayes traced the accounts Michael had sent money to. Most of the transfers funneled through cryptocurrency exchanges and shell companies scattered across Europe, West Africa, and Southeast Asia. Behind every polite email reply was a team of professional scammers, organized, disciplined, and constantly shifting their tactics. Forensic analysis of the phone numbers and email headers finally linked Rebecca to a cybercrime cell operating out of Ghana. The group was known for hiring fluent English-speaking recruits to pose as American or European professionals, nurses, engineers, military officers, using stolen photos scraped from social media. Hayes sat down with Michael again. "Mr. Turner, I know this is hard, but we need you to keep every message, every call log. They're evidence now." The investigation stretched on for months. Agents issued subpoenas to banks, collected IP logs from dating platforms, and pieced together a trail that crossed 5 countries. One breakthrough came when agents discovered that the same IP address that had sent Michael a distressed email about a sick child had also sent identical messages. Only the names and dollar amount were different, to dozens of other victims. Another came when Europol arrested a suspect in Spain on unrelated fraud charges. On his seized laptop was a contact list labeled Targets, USA Widowers. Michael's name and email were there. Viewers, it's chilling to realize how systematic these scams are. Comment below. Did you expect that a single scammer could be talking to hundreds of victims at once? As word spread about Michael's case, local news outlets covered the story. Some viewers felt sympathy for the widower who had been emotionally manipulated. Others were less forgiving, asking how a man in his 50s could be so gullible. Michael's children faced uncomfortable questions from co-workers and friends. His son later told a reporter, "We weren't angry at Dad. We were angry at the people who did this to him." Scam prevention advocates began using Michael's story as a teaching tool in webinars for seniors and support groups for online dating. Experts emphasize that shame often keeps victims silent, which allows scammers to keep exploiting others. In late 2024, the FBI, in coordination with Interpol and Ghanaian authorities, launched a targeted sting against the ring. Several key members, including the woman who had posed as Rebecca during phone calls, were arrested. Investigators learned that she was a 29-year-old local teacher who had been recruited by the syndicate for her fluent English and soothing voice. She claimed she never saw the money herself. Her job was to keep victims like Michael emotionally hooked. In a press conference, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas said, "These schemes don't just steal money. They steal trust. They exploit loneliness. And that's why we pursue them as seriously as any violent crime." The investigation ultimately tied the ring to over $15 million in romance scam losses across the United States. Michael, meanwhile, faced an uphill battle to recover financially. Although the arrest brought some measure of closure, only a small fraction of stolen funds was ever traced and frozen. He joined a support group for scam victims and began speaking publicly about his experience. "I don't want anyone else to feel as foolish as I did," he said at a community seminar. "I thought I was too smart, too careful. But loneliness, it blinds you." His story helped other victims come forward and seek justice. Romance scams thrive in the shadows of shame and secrecy. They're fueled by human hopes. Hope for love, companionship, understanding. That's what makes them one of the most heartbreaking forms of cybercrime. Investigators warn that common red flags include refusal to meet in person or video chat, frequent emergencies requiring money, requests to move conversations off dating platforms, stories that evoke sympathy but resist verification. Michael's tragedy reminds us all to pause, verify, and protect not just our finances, but our hearts. Michael Turner eventually sold what remained of his house and moved to live closer to his daughter in Austin. He's rebuilding, piece by piece, finding new purpose in helping others avoid the trap he fell into. As for the international crime ring that stole from him, some members are behind bars. Others remain at large, shifting their tactics as law enforcement keeps chasing them across borders. In the end, Michael's story isn't just about one man's heartbreak. It's a warning about how, in the digital age, even love can be weaponized by criminals. Thank you for staying with us through Michael Turner's journey, a story of heartbreak, manipulation, and the fight for justice. If this story moved you or opened your eyes to the dangers of online romance scams, please hit the like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and most importantly, subscribe to Bite Crimes. Your support motivates us to keep bringing you chilling, true, and educational cybercrime stories. Stories that inform, protect, and remind us that in the online world, trust must always be earned.